Welcome to Care Sandwich, the podcast where we dive into the success journeys of law firm owners across the country. I'm Margarita Everline, your host and the founder of Marketing Boss, a fractional chief marketing officer firm for law firms. On this show, we'll explore the challenges, strategies, and victories that have shaped law firms and how they wrap every interaction with care. Because we believe that caring isn't just a value, it's a strategy for success. So grab your favorite sandwich, sit back, and let's dig into a conversation filled with insight, inspiration, and of course, a lot of care. Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Care Sandwich. I have a very unique guest today. I actually have a doctor in the house. Dr. Bottari is here with us today, and he actually works with attorneys. So Dr. Bottari, tell us about yourself and how you help law firm owners.
Hi, nice to be here. Well, how do I help attorneys? So let me give you a little bit of a story. So I'm a psychologist by training. I have a PhD. I've been licensed in a couple of states for quite some time. Early on in my career as a psychologist, I had a background in neuropsychology and in biofeedback. So I started to get referrals from attorneys, personal injury attorneys, who had clients who sustained head injuries. And that's where I started to learn a little bit about the personal injury world as a psychologist. And as time went on, I became a little bit more entrepreneurial. I had a management company for medical doctors, and I had many injury centers around the country, multi-specialty injury centers treating accident victims. So after about 30 years of doing that, I decided that I'd kind of had enough of that, and I started a expert witness business centering around doing something called life care plans, which many attorneys know about and some don't. But through doing life care plans and vocational assessments and forensic economist reports and medical cost projections, that's where you say I help attorneys out, and I could explain more as we go.
So in your opinion, what are some things that can help maybe attorneys who aren't using services like yours or aren't really leaning into expert witnesses like you get that incorporated into their practice so that they can better serve their end client, which is, you know, the injured people that come to them for help?
Yeah, okay, so I think first a distinction has to be made between treating doctors and doctors who do life care plans.
Yes, absolutely.
So treating doctors, their mission is they have somebody who's injured their neck, their back, their shoulder, their brain, and they want to get them out of pain and fix the problem now. But they don't really, I mean, they do to some extent, but not, that's really not their mission to look into the future. So what does this mean for that client of theirs? What does this mean medically as they get older? So if you're a 40-year-old man who sustained a herniated, several herniations in their lower back, and they had some surgery or they had some pain management injections, what does that mean? What kind of medical services are they now going to need for the rest of their lives, and how much are those services going to cost? Mm-hmm. So that's what life care planners, they're all medical doctors who are board certified in their fields and are certified life care planners. They look at that. They look at their injuries, then by searching authoritative sources and their experience as doctors, they project into the future what they're going to need, what doctor's visits, what surgeries, what procedures, what medications, and again, using authoritative guidelines, what are the fees going to be for that. So they may have had all the medical care that they that they needed at the moment, but what's it going to cost them in terms of their medical condition and their real cost in dollars for the rest of their lives. So the attorneys then say, my client sustained these injuries, and this is what he's facing for the future.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, most personal injury attorneys are already working with the treatment medical professionals that are
Yes.
providing their clients, the doctor's patients, with treatment that they need to feel better.
Right.
I have gone through personal injuries myself, and if I recall correctly, I did not ever really consult or have any sort of interaction with somebody like you that could tell my attorney that my injuries that I sustained in any of my accidents that I've had were going to impact my life. I do remember during one of the cases that went to litigation, I was asked during a deposition questions about my lifestyle, like, I'm a mom of 5 kids, and, I had a baby that I couldn't really carry very well because, I know you can't tell, but my back's a little delicate. And I do remember talking about that. But other than that, now I'm wondering, should my attorney have consulted somebody like you to assist with that case? So is that like a scenario where it would have maybe helped my case?
There are other legal factors that the attorneys know about. That so maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know what the limits were for the insurance policy that they were pursuing. But I'll tell you this. Traditionally, a lot of attorneys knew about life care plans, but they only thought about using them for catastrophic cases, the severe of the severe. Well, many attorneys and some of the largest attorney groups in the country use us for not just catastrophic cases, although we do those, but for injuries that not the most mild, but sort of moderate level injuries where a person sustained a type of an injury where they required some type of a procedure. Could be an epidural injection or an ablation.
PRPs.
Or a little bit more than therapy usually.
Okay.
Usually there's a procedure involved, some type of an invasive procedure, not just surgery. It could be interventional pain management. Of course, it could be surgeries, but not the catastrophic. So more and more attorneys are using them for those type of cases, not just the catastrophic, because they're finding that by using life care plans, they're getting higher settlements, and it's worth the cost by far of the life care plan.
Right.
So that might have been the sort of the mentality of the attorney that you had, but I don't know. I'm not saying there's anything wrong because I don't know.
Yeah. We were just using it as an example, really just to wrap my mind around different scenarios. But that was such a helpful explanation. So if I'm a personal injury and I'm listening to this program, what are some things that I might look for to see if maybe I need to explore having a conversation with somebody like you to help me with my case?
I think kind of what I said in terms of the kinds of injuries. So if it's a real mild case where maybe they only saw maybe a chiropractor and had
So invasive.
No invasive kinds of procedures, but also what you want to look for is the client who was diligent with their therapy, treated regularly, got worked up properly by the treating physicians. In other words, they had diagnostic tests done, they had MRIs, they had X-rays. That wasn't neglected. So a good workup, a client that was diligent with their treatment, and then the other issues which the attorneys would know about in terms of the policies that are in play. I never look at that. That's what they look at. They know about that.
And what's it like once somebody gets in touch with you about a specific case, or is it if they have 5 or 6 cases that they want to discuss? What's the ideal scenario to start to incorporate this life care plan type evidence into a case?
We have a pretty easy way of doing it. They go onto our website or contact me. And especially if it's an attorney that's never worked with us before, I like to generally get on a Zoom call with them, get to know them a little bit, let them get to know how we do things, how easy it is to really refer us a case. Basically, all we need are the medical records of the client, the cell phone of the client, so we can contact them. And what we do is we get the medical records, we have one of our life care planners review thoroughly the medical records. We then schedule a call with one of the main treating physicians, usually a pain management doctor or the surgeon. We also schedule a clinical interview telephonically with the client, and we put all that together into our report. We review all the records, we do the interviews, and then the real nuts and bolts of the report is the medical cost projection table, where we outline specifically all of the care that client's going to need for the rest of their lives and the cost. So it's as easy as just sending me the medical records and a request to do a life care plan, and letting their client know to expect a call from us within six weeks or so. If there's no complications, they have their report.
There, I hope you're enjoying the conversation and your sandwich as much as we are. I want to take a moment to share a few words about our sponsor, Marketing Boss. If you're a law firm owner looking to supercharge your growth, our team at Marketing Boss is here to help. We've got over a decade of experience and a proven track record, and we specialize in growing law firms like yours with data-driven marketing leadership. So if you own a law firm and you're ready to get a predictable, steady flow of cases from your marketing, let's connect at marketing-boss.com.
I love to hear stories, Dr. Bottari, and I would love to hear a story, if you can think of one that stands out to you about a patient/client of one of the attorneys that you've worked with, that maybe having your support in their case assisted them with managing their post-accident life.
Yeah, I mean, I think of this 40-year-old man who sustained he sustained a head injury where he lost consciousness for a time, and he was worked up properly. He was an educated guy. I think, if I remember correctly, he was an accountant. And he had headaches that wouldn't go away. He became severely depressed.
Accounting is already a headache for people like me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he had headaches. He had sleep disturbances. He suffered from depression, dizziness. He couldn't play with his kids anymore. It affected his marriage, and that was a serious case because it changed his life completely. We also did a life care plan because the man was going to need care for the rest of his life and follow up for the rest of his life. Right. We also did a vocational assessment, which is something else we do. So a life care plan looks at the medical needs that the client's going to have for the rest of their life. The vocational assessment looks at his employment. So he's an accountant and he's earning, a decent salary being an accountant. Well, now our vocational expert looks at what are his skills, what's his education, what's he going to be able to do. He's not going to be able to be an accountant for the foreseeable future because he lacks concentration, he lacks focus, he's going to make a lot of errors, he can't do it. What other skills does he have, and where could he go with that, and how much income is he going to lose over the course of his lifetime? So that's another report which we did. And then the third report you asked me about a case, so
yes, no, this is great. Yeah.
We did a forensic economist report based upon, the economist that works with us, he looks at the life care plan, which talks about the medical care that they're going to need for the rest of their lives, and the vocational assessment, which talks about his employment and the financial losses he's going to make. But they only look at it in today's dollars. So what a forensic economist does, they project into the future. Okay,
Wow.
over the next 20 years, how much is he losing? What is the cost of the medical care? We say if they got all that care today, it was $300,000. But over the course of 20 years, if they have that much longer to live, it could be $1 million. So the forensic economist is able to do those kinds of very technical projections. So that's sort of the whole package there, where you have the life care plan, you have the vocational assessment, and then you have the economist report.
This sounds like a lot of really valuable evidence for any sort of case. Can you share on, I don't know if there's an average or if this is not even a fair question, feel free to, but on average, I would imagine a personal injury practice could really benefit on the value of their cases here. Do you have a number or a percentage, or is that even a fair question? But I'm just trying to wrap my mind around this. This feels to me like it's just worth a lot of money to a practice to incorporate this.
Well, it is. I don't have a number, but I can tell you this. I can tell you a couple things. One, some of the most successful large attorneys firms in the country who use us, they must have figured out that if they took 100 cases with the same limit, with the same injuries,
yes,
and the same insurance limits that they were pursuing, that had life care plans, and then 100 that didn't, that didn't.
I'm so sorry. I'm in the middle of recording. You can just set that down. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Should have put a sign on the door. Thanks.
And 100 that did not have life care plans, they got much larger settlements for the ones that did, or why would they be using us? They wouldn't. So that must tell you something about the value for settlements by using life care plans. The other thing I'll say is this.
But you mentioned two other types of evidence. So it's the life care plan,
the vocational assessment, and the economist report.
Gotcha. Okay.
We do actually one more thing, which is just called a medical cost projection. It's a scaled down version of a life care plan that some attorneys will use in pre-suit, to see if they can settle the case and help them get to a certain level. It's cheaper than doing a life care plan because we don't do any of the interviews. It's simply based on medical records that we receive and projecting out the cost. But the other thing is this, in terms of the value, why more attorneys don't use it. Traditionally, a lot of life care planners, their fees were much higher than what we charge. I developed an infrastructure that enables us to process life care plans quickly, really professionally, and at a much lower cost to the attorneys.
Really?
So whereas,
can you share how much lower than that?
Yeah, I could share. There are many life care planners for a typical case, let's just say, not a catastrophic case. For a typical case, we'll charge $8,000 to $10,000 or up to $15,000. I've seen $30,000. So for a life care plan, we charge $4,900 for sort of a basic case, not a catastrophic case,
Amazing.
Which covers about 90% of the work we do. So if attorney is on the fence and looking at the cost, they're much more likely to use one knowing that it's not an astronomical cost to them.
Right.
So that's
amazing.
That's just the way I built the company, and we make it up on volume. We do a lot of work, and we have great doctors.
No, I get it. I can relate. I'm really passionate about running my business as efficiently as possible to keep costs low for my clients, and I pass down the savings. So I'm right there with you. That's very noble of you to really focus on how can you help more people, with more efficient processes. So if somebody's listening to this and they want to learn more about you, about what you do, connect with you, follow up in the conversation, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Call me at, I'm glad to take calls at 561-289-6813. 561-289-6813. That's my cell phone. I answer it, and I'm happy to speak to attorneys. Or you can send an email to Dr. Dr. Bottari, B like in boy, O, T like in Tom, T like in Tom, A-R-I, at lifecareplanpros.com. That's lifecareplanpros, all one word, .com.
And you work with law firms all over the country, I take it, right? So geographically?
Everywhere, yeah, everywhere.
Amazing. So there you have it. There are some really great resources out there if you're a personal injury attorney that you can get in touch about. And if you have any questions, you can also write underneath this episode, and we'll be happy to put you in touch. So thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Care Sandwich. Remember, the way we care for our clients, our teams, and ourselves can make all the difference in our success. Until next time, keep caring, keep growing, and I'll see you on the next episode of Care Sandwich.